Welcome to Techlearners. My upcoming 4 lectures will be dedicated to exception handling in Java. I will be talking about try, catch and finally blocks, exceptions and how to handle those exceptions, throws keyword and throw keyword also. So let's just start with our first lecture on the exception handling in the Java. Exception. Exception is an unexpected situation or unexpected error during program called exception. Remember, this is not syntax error. This is something different from the syntax or compilation error. So when we have an exception, it is basically unexpected. So we do not know that it is going to occur. For example, if we try to divide a number by 0, then the exception will occur because the compiler is not aware about what to do when it sees a division by 0. And if we have asked the numbers from the user, the numerator as well as the denominator, then if the user will input 4 as numerator and 2 as denominator, then the program will execute normally. But if the user inputs 4 as numerator and 0 as denominator, then there will be an unexpected situation or error occur. That is called exception. The another example is to try access an element in an array which actually does not exist. What this means, let's say we have defined an array with size 10, and if we are trying to access an index 12, so that's not present. In that case, there will be an exception. These exceptions or these errors can be classified as compile time errors or runtime errors. The exception handling. Let's talk about how we can handle these exceptions. The way of handling unexpected errors in a program is obviously known as exception handling. Some common examples of the exceptions are divide by 0, accessing array element beyond its range, the hard disk crash, try to access a file which actually do not exist on the system. So these are all the examples of the exceptions and we need to handle them. Why we need to handle them? If we will not handle, then the program will shut down abruptly and the user will not get to know what happened. The exceptions can be handled with the help of try, catch and finally blocks. So we will be talking about these blocks, how to use them, when to use them and where to use them. In try block, we put code in which we expect errors. In catch block, we put the code for exception handling. And in finally block, we put the code which will be executed even when the exception occurs. So that is how we are dealing with these 3 blocks. Try block is used to put the code in which we expect the error, expect the exception to occur. The catch block will help us in catching the exception and handling. And we have a finally block where we can put our code that will give the user a message that what has happened. So let's go and see the exception handling example in the Java program. So I have created this simple program, let's say exception handling, where I have used the scanner class to accept the input from the user. And let's say if I want to divide 2 numbers and give the division result, this is one of the very simplest exception. So we have 3 variables a, b and c. C is initialized to 0. I'll create the scanner class object sc and then I'll ask user to please enter numerator and will accept that numerator with the help of the sc object and with the help of the next line method in variable a. Then I'll ask user to please enter the denominator and in the same manner I will store the denominator in the variable b. Now just see, here I have done the division and then finally I have given the output that the division is c. Let's see what will happen if I compile and execute this program. So let me compile and then execute this program. As you had seen that there was no compilation error, there was no syntax error, and program is in execution. And now I have been asked to enter the numerator. Let me ask 6 input 6, and the denominator it's 3. So everything is fine, nothing happened. Result of division is 2. That's everything is fine. But now let me re-execute this with some different input. And now if I give numerator 8 and denominator 0, then see what happened. The program terminated, and the program did not give any hint to the user. What we can see direct into the code editor, that there is an error, Java LAN arithmetic exception, divide by 0 exception. So you can see that the programmer has got the notification that this is an arithmetic exception, divide by 0, but which is not actually understandable by a layman user. So that is why we need to handle these exceptions. Now let's see how we can handle these exceptions. We can handle these exceptions by using the try and catch block. Now I have commented these codes, and let me show you. If I am using the try, catch and finally block, so just see how this try, catch and finally block will help us. Just wait a minute, let me remove this comment. Let me cut and paste it again, cut and then let me paste it. Right, so this is a code. You see I have used 3 blocks. One is the try block, the other is the catch block with one parameter exception, and then the finally block. So I have kept the code in which I had some suspicions that there may be some exception. So the code where the exception can occur, I kept inside the try block. And then inside the catch block, I have used the exception class to catch the exception which will be thrown by this try block, and I'll receive this exception into the catch block, and I have given a message. So with the help of this e-object and with the get message method, I can print message, the exception message, and I can also use this my literal to intimate that what is the exception. Then the finally block for the user, what user will see, the user will see this will definitely execute. So the user will have an idea that what had happened. I can also add exception. Let me add exception. So user will get to know that there is some exception. Okay, I can also make it more specific, divide by 0. So I have mentioned the exception, divide by 0. Now let me execute the same program. Let me compile, close, let me close this, the error window. Then let me see if everything is fine. Yes, let me compile, let me close this and then re-execute this. And now let me give the same input. This is 8 and 0. Now you can see the program is terminated, but it's not terminated abruptly. It has given me some messages so that I can understand what had happened. So this is a divide by 0 error that was from the catch block I have got, and this is from the finally block message to the user. This will definitely execute. You have got an exception, divide by 0. So this is how we can handle the exception and can give proper messaging to the users to understand what had happened. So that's it for the today's lesson. We will meet into the next lesson. We will talking more about this exception handling, try, catch, finally, blocks, throw and throws blocks. Thank you so much.